My Thomas Story Library, Jeremy. This is a story about Jeremy, a splendid jet plane who landed at Sodor Airport on the day of the summer picnic. Thomas was jealous of Jeremy until a rainstorm broke out on the island. Thomas the Tank Engine loves having buffers that biff and a boiler that bubbles. He loves having wheels that whiz round and round and a whistle that he can peep. But most of all, Thomas loves working on the Fat Controller's railway. It was the day of the Sodor summer picnic. The Fat Controller came with news of a special job for Thomas. You are to collect the children from the airport and take them to the picnic, he boomed cheerfully. Thomas was excited. Yes, sir, he whistled and set off straight away. The airport was new, and all the engines wanted to go there. Thomas had just arrived when he heard a loud noise in the sky. Whoosh! A jet plane was coming in to land. Thomas chopped over to the big hangar. Hello, he peeped. I'm Thomas, and I'm a tank engine. Hello, said the plane. I'm Jeremy, and I'm a jet plane. Flying is the most fun in the world. I can see the whole island at once, he said. Thomas thought Jeremy was being boastful. Well, I like travelling on tracks, he huffed. Thomas puffed sadly away. I never want to talk to a jet plane again, he moaned. He cheered up, though, when he saw the children waiting on the platform. The Fat Controller and Lady Hat were there too, with a large hamper full of delicious things to eat. The guard loaded the hamper into Clarabelle. Thomas set off for the picnic, but soon had to stop at a signal. He heard Jeremy taking off. Whoosh! Then Jeremy flew right over his funnel. It's not fair, puffed Thomas. Jet planes don't have to stop at signals. At the picnic, everyone was soon having a jolly time. Everyone except Thomas. Percy saw that he looked sad. What's wrong, Thomas? He asked. Jet planes can go wherever they like. I wish I were a jet plane, chuffed Thomas. But engines can pull carriages and take children to picnics, peeped Percy. Engines are really useful. Thomas wasn't so sure. Jeremy was getting to the mainland, but dark rain clouds were gathering. Jeremy had to return to the airport. Thomas was passing as Jeremy came in to land. Thomas didn't want to talk to him. Thomas! Jeremy called out. A summer storm is on its way. The picnic will be ruined. Cinders and ashes, gasped Thomas. I must tell the Fat Controller. Thomas steamed through tunnels and whizzed round bends. He reached the picnic just as the first drops of rain began to fall. Quickly! He whooshed. A big storm is coming. The picnic will be washed away. Everyone helped pack up the picnic and boarded Annie and Clarabelle. The children were sad that the picnic was over. Then Thomas had an idea. He steamed to the airport as fast as his wheels would carry him. Jeremy was inside keeping nice and dry in his big hangar. Please can the children have their picnic here in your hangar? Asked Thomas. Of course, said Jeremy. What a splendid idea! Thomas was very happy. Soon all the children were feeling jolly again, and so was the Fat Controller. Well done, Thomas and Jeremy, he boomed. Together you have saved the picnic. You are both really useful. Jeremy was happy to have helped, and Thomas had never felt prouder to be a tank engine. Now Whenever Thomas sees Jeremy flying high above him in the sky, he always whistles, "Peep, peep!" And Jeremy likes nothing better than looking out for Thomas, steaming along his branch line on the island of Sodor. My Thomas Story Library, Hector. This is the story of Hector the Horrid, a big black truck who told the engines to keep away. But when Thomas decided to teach him a lesson, he discovered that Hector was not as horrid as he looked. Thomas the Tank Engine loves shunting troublesome trucks. He can biff them harder and faster than any other engine. It's one of his favourite jobs. One morning, the Fat Controller had an important announcement. "James and Edward must take extra deliveries of coal," he boomed. "Thomas, you must shunt and build trucks at the coaling plant for James and Edward to collect this afternoon," he added. Thomas was very pleased. Just then, Bill and Ben chuffed by with a big black truck. It was biffing and bashing them. "Two engines pushing one truck," said Thomas. "This is Hector," huffed Bill. "He hates being shunted. We call him Hector the Horrid." Bill and Ben chuffed slowly away with Hector. "I could biff Hector firmly into place," Thomas boasted to James. Later, Thomas chuffed into the coaling plant, and there was Hector. The other trucks giggled. "Big, bad, and solid! He's Hector the Horrid!" they sang. Thomas puffed closer. "Keep away!" roared Hector. Bill and Ben were right, thought Thomas. Hector is horrid. Thomas decided to keep away. He spent the morning shunting the other trucks and filling them with coal. All the time, Thomas could feel Hector the Horrid watching him. The plant manager came to see Thomas. "We need an extra large delivery," he said. "You must shunt and bill Hector. Rosie is coming to help." Later, Rosie puffed into the yard. She saw Hector. "Do we have to shunt that big truck, Thomas?" she peeped. "Yes," puffed Thomas, "but he doesn't want to be shunted. His name is—" Before Thomas could finish, Hector opened his mouth and let out the biggest roar ever. "Keep away!" he bellowed. Rosie was so surprised that she shook from funnel to footplate and steamed straight out of the yard. This made Thomas cross. Hector had biffed and bashed Bill and Ben. He had shouted at Thomas and frightened Rosie so much that she had puffed away. Now the extra delivery would never be ready. Thomas had had enough. He puffed up to Hector and biffed him. Hector was cross. "Keep away!" he roared. "I won't," huffed Thomas. "You are causing confusion and delay. You really are horrid." Then with one mighty biff, Thomas pushed Hector backwards into a set of buffers. Hector couldn't stop and rolled right off the track. Thomas felt very bad. He hadn't meant to biff Hector so hard. He puffed over to the truck. Hector lay on his side, looking very sad. Now Hector didn't seem so horrid. "I'm sorry I biffed you so hard," wheezed Thomas. "But why won't you be shunted?" "I'm scared," moaned Hector. Thomas was surprised. "I'm a new truck," Hector groaned. "I'm scared of being filled with coal. I've never done it before. That's why I didn't want to be shunted." Thomas wanted to help Hector. "Sometimes I'm scared when I have to do something new," Thomas chuffed. "But coal isn't scary." Later, Rocky arrived. He lifted Hector back onto the tracks. Hector watched Thomas roll under the hopper. Black dusty coal poured into Thomas's coal box. See? It's not scary, Thomas peeped kindly. Then Hector smiled. I'd like to be filled with coal too, he rumbled. So Thomas pulled Hector quickly under the hopper to fill him up with coal. Thomas shunted Hector into place just as James and Edward puffed into the yard. They were surprised to see Hector there. Soon the trains were ready, and James and Edward puffed away to make their deliveries. Good luck, Thomas whistled. But the whistle wasn't for them. Thomas was tooting to his new friend Hector, who wasn't horrid after all. My Thomas Story Library, Boko. This is the story of Boko, the big diesel engine who ran into trouble with little Bill and Ben. The twins thought Boko was troublesome, until Edward taught them how to get along together. Bill and Ben are tank engine twins who live at a port on Edward's line. Each has 4 wheels, a tiny chimney and dome, and a small squat cab. Wherever Bill goes, Ben goes too. They are kept busy pulling trucks for ships in the harbour and engines on the main line. The trucks are filled with china clay dug from nearby hills. The clay is used to make pottery, paper, paint, plastics, and many other things. One morning, Bill and Ben shunted their trucks into a line, then went to collect some more. But when they got back, the trucks were gone. Bill and Ben were most surprised. Their drivers examined a patch of oil. That's a diesel, they said, wiping the rails clean. It's a wattle? asked Bill. A diesel, I think he said, replied Ben. There's a notice about diesels in our shed. It says, coughs and sneezels spread diseases, said Bill. You had a cough in your smoke box yesterday, said Ben. It's your fault the diesel came. My fireman cleaned it. It's not my fault, it's yours. Bill snorted back. Stop arguing, you two, laughed their drivers. Let's go and rescue our trucks. Bill and Ben were worried. The diesel will magic us away like our trucks, cried Ben. He won't magic us, Bill's driver told them. We'll more likely magic him. Their drivers were clever and thought of a plan. The diesel doesn't know you're twins. We'll take away your names and numbers, and then this is what we'll do, they said. So, puffing hard, the twins set off to find the diesel. They were looking forward to playing tricks on him. Slowly and carefully, they puffed into Edward's yard. The diesel was on a siding with the missing trucks. Ben hid behind, but Bill puffed boldly alongside. Bill pretended to be frightened. You're a big bully, he whimpered. You'll be sorry. He ran back and hid behind the trucks on the other side as Ben puffed forward. Truck stealer, hissed Ben. He steamed away, then Bill took his place. This went on and on till the poor diesel's eyes nearly popped out. Stop! You're making me giddy! Moaned the diesel engine. The 2 engines stopped and puffed forwards together. Are there 2 of you? asked the diesel. Yes, we're twins, said Bill. I might have known it, huffed the diesel engine. Just then, Edward the blue engine bustled up. Bill and Ben, why are you playing here? asked Edward. We're not playing, protested Bill. We're rescuing our trucks, squeaked Ben. Even you don't take our trucks without asking, Edward, but this diesel did. Diesel? There is no cause to be rude, said Edward firmly. This engine is a Metropolitan Vickers Diesel Electric Type 2. The twins wished they hadn't teased the big diesel engine. We're sorry, mister, said Bill. Never mind, the Diesel smiled. Call me Boko. I'm sorry I didn't understand about the trucks. That's better, said Edward. Now buzz off, you two. Fetch Boko's trucks, then you can come back for these ones. Bill and Ben puffed away as fast as their wheels would carry them. In the yard, Edward smiled. Don't worry about those two, he told Boko kindly. Thank you, Edward, Boko replied. I'm glad you were here to keep them in order. We call Bill and Ben the bees. They are terrors when they start buzzing around, Edward chuckled. Soon Bill and Ben came back for their trucks. This time, they were careful not to be cheeky to Boko. There was no more teasing, and there were no more tricks. You have been busy bees, Boko chuckled. Edward and Boko smiled at each other. They were now firm friends. My Thomas Story Library, Billy. This is a story about Billy, a shiny orange engine. When Billy arrived at my railway, I asked Thomas to show him what to do. Billy thought that Thomas was bossy, but he soon realized that Thomas was just being helpful. One morning, Thomas the Tank Engine was at Brendam Docks. He was excited. Today, I am going to look after a new engine, peeped Thomas to Salty. The new engine arrived. He had an orange coat and was puffing with pride. I'm Billy, he whistled. Let's go! Wait, Billy, peeped Thomas. We can't go yet. We have to wait for the Fat Controller. He will tell us what to do. The Fat Controller soon came to meet Billy. Billy, he boomed, you have a very busy day. First, you must take empty chicken vans to the farm and bring the chickens back to the docks. Then you are to deliver diesel fuel to the quarry. And lastly, you have to take coal to the depot. Yes, sir, bubbled Billy happily. Thomas, you must show Billy how to be a really useful engine, added the Fat Controller before he left. Billy, Thomas steamed, you must pull the chickens slowly and smoothly. I know that, sighed Billy. He pumped his pistons impatiently. Don't pump your pistons before you are ready to leave, whistled Thomas. It wastes coal and water. First, you must take on more coal and water for your busy day, he added. Thomas, huffed Billy, stop telling me what to do. You are a very bossy engine. Billy raced off without Thomas. He thinks you're a bossy boiler, me hearty, laughed Salty. Thomas didn't like being called bossy, but he had promised the Fat Controller he would look after Billy. So Thomas chased after him. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the farm, but Billy wasn't pleased to see Thomas. Billy, you must take on coal and water, he said. Don't tell me what to do, Thomas, huffed Billy. You are a very bossy engine. And he steamed off to the quarry. Silly Billy, you've forgotten the chickens, Farmer McColl called out. Bother him, wheezed Thomas, and he chuffed quickly off after the impatient engine. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the quarry, but Billy wasn't pleased to see him. You didn't pick up the chickens, puffed Thomas, and you still haven't taken on more coal and water. Stop telling me what to do, Thomas, huffed Billy. You are a very bossy engine. Billy steamed off. Mavis gasped. He's forgotten our diesel. Thomas was worried. He raced after Billy. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the depot, but Billy wasn't pleased to see him. Billy had backed up to heavy trucks of diesel oil. "They need this diesel oil at the quarry now," peeped Thomas, "and you still haven't taken on coal and water. "Stop telling me what to do, Thomas!" huffed Billy. "You are a very, very bossy engine!" Billy steamed off without the diesel oil. Thomas was very worried. He chased after Billy. Thomas was pleased to find Billy at the coaling plant. Billy was packing his trucks under the hopper, but he didn't see Percy there, and he biffed him right under the hopper. Percy was covered in coal from funnel to footplate. "Watch out, silly Billy!" Percy peeped. "Oh no!" puffed Thomas. "You must be careful when you roll under the hopper, and you must take on coal and water now." "Thomas!" huffed Billy. "Stop telling me what to do! You are a very bossy engine!" Thomas was very unhappy. He didn't want to be called bossy anymore. "Do whatever you want, Billy," he wished. This made Billy very happy, and he raced off. But suddenly, Billy came to a stop. He had run out of coal and water. "Cinders and ashes!" cried Thomas when he saw what had happened. "I haven't taught Billy to be really useful at all." Thomas shunted Billy to the water tower. Billy's firebox was filled with coal while he took on water. "I know you think I'm a bossy boiler," puffed Thomas, "but I've done all these jobs before. I can help you. Then no one will call you a silly Billy." Together, Billy and Thomas collected Farmer McColl's chickens and took them to the docks. Then they delivered the diesel oil to Mavis and Diesel at the quarry. And lastly, they delivered the coal to the depot. Now Thomas and Billy were very tired. "Goodbye, Billy," Thomas chuffed. "The Fat Controller will be very pleased that you finished all your jobs." Thomas started to puff away. "Thomas!" bubbled Billy. "You're not a bossy boiler. You're a really useful engine, and I really enjoyed working with you." Thomas felt very happy. Billy wasn't a silly Billy anymore, and Thomas had made a really good friend. My Thomas Story Library, Whiff. This is a story about Whiff, a very friendly engine. When he first arrived, I told Emily to work with him. Emily thought that Whiff was scruffy, but she soon saw that it was his kindly ways that really mattered. One morning, Emily was very excited. The Fat Controller had told her to work with a new engine. "I hope he is smart and useful," she wished. Emily chuffed away as fast as her boiler could bubble. She steamed into the shunting yards to look for the new engine. The new engine was the scruffiest she had ever seen. "Hello, Emily," wished the new engine happily. "My name's Whiff, because people say I'm a bit smelly. You're going to help me collect some rubbish." Emily was horrified. "Come on then," she sighed. "Let's get started." They soon passed Gordon, James and Henry. "Hello," whistled Whiff. "Who's your messy new friend with the funny-sounding whistle, Emily?" snorted James. "We smelled you coming for miles," wheezed Gordon grandly. "My name's Whiff," whistled Whiff. "It suits you," laughed Henry. "Phew!" Emily was very embarrassed. She hurried away, with Whiff puffing after her. Up the line, Emily and Whiff passed more engines. When they saw Whiff, they all laughed. Emily was tired of being teased. "I must get away from Whiff," she huffed. Emily pumped her pistons. "Wait for me!" whistled Whiff. But Emily wasn't going to wait for Whiff, and speeded up instead. Soon Whiff was a long way behind. Emily was glad he was gone. Later, Emily saw Elizabeth at a crossing. "Where's the new engine?" honked Elizabeth. He got lost," wheezed Emily. "No, I didn't," whistled Whiff happily. "Hello!" "Oh!" sniffed Elizabeth. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your new friend?" But Emily didn't want anything more to do with Whiff. She chuffed away as fast as her pistons could pump. "Wait for me!" whistled Whiff cheerfully. Up ahead, Emily saw a branch line. "Maybe if I puff down there, Whiff won't see me." Emily chuffed all around the Fat Controller's railway, trying to hide from Whiff. But everywhere that Emily went, Whiff always found her. In every tunnel, and in every siding. Until at last, she managed to escape from the scruffy little engine. "Thank goodness!" Emily wheezed. "Now no one will laugh at me for working with such a dirty engine." Up ahead, Emily saw a very cross Spencer. "I'm meant to be taking the Duke and Duchess of Boxford to an important lunch," he huffed, "but my way is blocked by all these smelly rubbish trucks." "Flatten my funnel!" steamed Emily. Emily and Whiff should have cleared the trucks earlier. Emily knew it was her job to move the rubbish trucks. She buffered up and pushed as hard as she could, but the trucks were much too heavy for her to move on her own. Just then, Gordon and James chuffed past. "Can you help me move these rubbish trucks?" tooted Emily. "Me?" snorted Gordon. "Certainly not." No thank you," wheezed James. Emily was upset. "I'm still waiting," huffed Spencer. "If Whiff were here now, he'd be happy to help me," Emily sighed. "He wanted to be my friend, but I was unkind to him. I must find Whiff and say sorry." Emily looked high and low for Whiff, but he was nowhere to be seen. Then at last, she heard Whiff's funny whistle. "Hello, Emily," whistled Whiff cheerfully. "I wondered where you'd got to." "I'm sorry I ran away from you," puffed Emily. "That's all right," whistled Whiff. "I'm just glad you found me again. Let's get to work." Spencer was getting very impatient. "Don't worry, Spencer," tooted Emily. "Whiff is here to help now." "Freeze my firebox!" snorted Spencer when he saw Whiff. "That scrappy engine can't move all these rubbish trucks." "We're going to move them together," chuffed Emily proudly. "Oh, thank you, Emily," whistled Whiff. Spencer watched as Emily and Whiff coupled up to the rubbish trucks and quickly shunted them away. Spencer was very impressed. "Whiff is a very, very useful engine," he wheezed. "I know," bubbled Emily happily. "And he's my new good friend too."